Shabbat Shalom and greetings to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Greet one another in the chat. And remember, you can go to TorahToTheTribes.com/connect, scroll down, and you can register by clicking on the biblical feasts. It'll take you right over to Eventbrite, and you can sign up for Sukkot at Sukkot. We're going to be at the coast this year, October 4th through the 9th. We've got RV spots, tent spots. We've got a big industrial kitchen and cabins, and it is a great location. I think the best location we've found so far, right on the Pacific Ocean. So if you're looking to get together with family, worship Yahweh, and enjoy his Moedim, then make sure you sign up for Sukkot 2023 at the Sukkot. All that to say this, we're in the 19th chapter of Isaiah, the 5th Hebrew Gospel. And this is, of course, the woes and the burdens. And we're in the 19th chapter, the burden of Mitzrayim, the burden of Egypt. Now, this was a very popular chapter back in the days when there was the Civil War and all the uproar back in Egypt when Obama was in. And I think it was it Morsi that was the president over there, and it was all kicking off, and that was right before Libya, and about 7 or 8 years ago. I remember being in a study with this particular chapter. So it's just interesting as time goes by, and we're still here, patiently waiting the return of Yahweh, aren't we? The day of Yahweh. We are in the last days. Just as the writer of the book of Hebrews said, we're in the last days. Oh my goodness, we are in the last days. The burden of Mitzrayim. See, Yahweh rides upon a swift cloud. What does that mean? It's a swiftly moving cloud, meaning it's a metaphor for the calamity that will occur quickly. Quickly. Come quickly. Quickly. Every generation. But that's how we're to live. We're to live with an expectation of the coming of Messiah. Every generation. Yeah. Never give up that hope. Yeah. Because that is what? The blessed hope. So the older I get and I look back and I think, oh my goodness. I remember when we were doing a Bible study and it was kicking off in Egypt. And I remember when the towers fell, and I remember the sycamore trees, and I remember, and yet we're still here. But it's okay, because we're moving ever closer with that swiftly moving cloud. And he shall come into Mitzrayim, and the non-gods of Mitzrayim shall tremble at his presence. No one does a better job than talking about paganism than Lou White and fossilized customs. I mean, a shout out to Lou, and his bird. But back in the day, I remember reading that book in like 2 days and walking around for like 2 weeks in an absolute daze. Everything's pagan. Oh my God, everything's neckties are pagan. This is pagan. And it's all true. It's all pagan. We live in a world constructed upon sun god worship, from the days of our month to the days of our week to everything. Our architecture, turn over the back of your bill, they're worshipping a foreign sun god, and it's all a bunch of pagan nonsense. Non-gods, whether it's the obelisks that's on the River Thames in England that came out of Egypt, it's everywhere. But we don't want to just stick with the old obelisks. Let's build new ones and stick them in Washington, D.C. Why not? Why not? Just for kicks and giggles. In fact, they just constructed a new one here in Salem recently. Because why not just stick their false religion in our faces? Everywhere. Non-gods, the non-gods of Mitzrayim shall tremble at his presence, and the lev, the heart of Mitzrayim, shall melt in the midst of it. The word here is Elil, and it's spelled Aleph Lamed Yod Lamed. translated oftentimes as idols, but it's better as non-gods. And the word God, I mean, Lou White really goes into that in his book Fossilized Customs, so I'm not going to go into it, because I wouldn't be able to do such a good job as what he's already done. So get that book, read it, and just go buggy-eyed on it for several days. But non-gods, this is a belittling form of Aleph Lamed, which is El, which means power, because our El is the mighty power. But the word here for non-gods, Elil, spelt Aleph Lamed, Yod Lamed. It's the belittling form of El. Here, it's used degradingly, and it refers to the various deities of Mitzrayim as non-gods. It's similar to the German Gott, meaning God, and Gott's. And it's like a childlike concept of God. And I'm not, putting down the Christians, but really, mainline Christianity has got a very childlike concept of God. And if they were to turn over their dollar bill, they'd go, yes, And I remember being in the Christian church and people were outraged when they were going to take "In God We Trust" off the dollar coin, when they came out with the dollar coin. Like this was some kind of affront to the Creator, the mighty El. Because their concept of God is so childlike that they really think that God we're talking about on the dollar bill is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No, it's not. This is pagan mythology. They're worshipping Satan. So when somebody says, I believe in God, I'm like, back up to the wall and grab your wallet at this point. Because we were created to worship. Everybody worships. Darwinism is a form of religion. Everybody worships. Usually themselves. That's idolatry. Or something bigger than themselves. It's still idolatry. God is an idol. Elohim, Yahweh, is the one true Elohim. So I do think it's very important to read a book like Fossilized Customs to come to the realization that God isn't God. That there's a distinction between Yahweh Elohim and the gods of man and mammon, because it's idolatry. I remember at Calvary Chapel, we had a Muslim guy come in and talk about how, Allah and Yahweh were one and the same. Heaven forbid. And at the Christian church, they were like, oh, really? No, this is not true. This is not true. But if you don't understand the distinction between the one true living Elohim and idols, you will be deceived by the gods of this world, including the Islamic false god. So it's very important to distinguish between Aleph Lamed, Yahweh, the mighty El, the one true creator Elohim, and the Aleph Lamed, Yod Lameds of this world that are many and inferior, and of course a figment of wicked man's construction and his mind. God is a childlike concept, meaning an idol, a false god. It comes from the idea of the worship of false gods, and that is for appeasement. And it appeases those with a child mind, childlike concept of God. And that's what we've come into in the 20th and 21st century. Thank you, the American Bible Society. I'm being facetious. Now, although a world superpower in the context here, Mitzrayim, a metaphorical Mitzrayim, Egypt, suffers an internal collapse in our text. Can we see that? And Yahweh then delivers those housed within its borders, those who keep his covenant. Meaning there's hope for us, even though we live in Egypt, right? A metaphorical Egypt, a metaphorical Babylon, possibly the real mystery Babylon, I think. He will deliver us, those who keep his covenant. Verse 2, and I will set the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians, against the Mitzrayim. That's a civil war. And they will fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and Malchut against Malchut, kingdom against kingdom. Remember, now, ancient Mitzrayim, Egypt, it's the birthplace of the birthright tribe. Ephraim, right? Ephraim was born in Egypt. Manasseh was born in Egypt. And Moshe, Israel's deliverer, was born in Egypt. So deliverance can come out of Egypt, brethren. The prophecy of Egypt typifies a land with strong ties between Yahweh's end-time remnant and the end-time Egypt. So history, I believe, as I read the text, is going to repeat itself. The world's superpower, codenamed Egypt, forms part of Isaiah's greater Babylon. Think about that. And it suffers the covenant curses of Yahweh's day of judgment. Look at what's going on in Egypt here. Look at what's happening in the Egypt in which we live, which is a metaphorical end-time Egypt. A nation's spirit, the text tells us, is going to be drained from within. Is that happening today? Oh, no, not at all. The heart of a nation is being degraded within the text. And in turn, the people turn to idols. They turn to spiritists. They turn to mediums. They turn to witchcraft. End-time Egypt, does she turn to artificial intelligence? Does she? Isn't that a form of spiritism? Witchcraft? It's information that is false. Egypt's enemies. Well, what are Egypt? Is it China? They see their chance, though, to invade from without. Then Yahweh draws his spirit to his people, and at the same time, simultaneously, withdraws his spirit from the people that are doing evil. So there's an impartation of his spirit upon his end-time remnant covenant-keeping people, and simultaneously a withdrawal of his spirit from the wickedness. And I think you can see that today. It's getting darker and darker, yet there is an enlightenment within his covenant people. We're seeing more. It's becoming extremely clear. But then there's a blinding and a darkening and just a deviant spirit. Well, the text tells us this. There's a deviant spirit that is being sowed within end-time Egypt. Let's read on. You see, the text is going to tell us, as we delve into it more, that anarchy and civil war in the great superpower called Egypt, Mitzrayim, is this downward spiral to destruction. Could it happen next year? Next year's an election year. It's going to kick off crazy. Could it happen? Angst within end-time Egypt, a civil war within end-time Egypt, enclave against enclave, people against people. Do you see the fostering and fermenting of that? Well, that's what the text is telling us. The land will be destroyed, the text tells us, from within. Open borders, election tampering, civil unrest, gender confusion, all leading up to the revelation next year. What is it going to be? Are they going to lead up to the revelation? All this transgender stuff, is it going to lead up to something insane like the revelation of Big Mike? I mean, is it possible? It sure appears to be building into that kind of crazy. Well, that's crazy, Matthew. Yes, it is crazy. We live in crazy. We live in an upside-down, topsy-turvy world. And we learned with COVID, didn't we? We did learn with COVID that conspiracy theories, they turned out to be conspiracy facts. So, we shall see, Big Mike. Verse 3, and the Ruach